What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is day 7 of the 8th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from the Lone Pine Brewing Company in their headquarters in Portland, Maine, and this is their Pumpkin Party, the 2025 release. So this is a pumpkin ale brewed with pumpkin and spices. It comes in at 4.2% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, and this can is approximately 6 weeks old. So I have only officially reviewed one beer from Lone Pine on the channel, and it was their OJ double IPA, kind of the beer they're known for, a big juicy double IPA that's very orange forward. And yeah, it's a very tasty double IPA. However, I've also reviewed 2 other beers from them as a mystery / whodunit beer review, so a blind beer review. Both those beers were sent to me by a friend of mine and viewer of the channel, Caleb, so huge thanks to him. The first one was an IPL. I forget the name of it, but I absolutely nailed that. I called it an IPL, so I was very happy with that review. And then the second one he sent me was like a hot fudge imperial stout. I did a pretty good job. Didn't nail it exactly, but both were very good beers, and so is that OJ. So I picked this one up because I'm like, all right, it's Lone Pine. I enjoy the beers I've had from them. Let's give it a go. So it says on the side here, pumpkin spice and everything nice, brewed with real pumpkin and a carefully curated blend of seasonal spices. Pumpkin Party Pumpkin Ale is an ode to the Northeast's favorite season. Hit the patch, bring a glass, and revel in the wistful flavors of fall. Unfiltered, unpasteurized, because all good things are wild and free. So they don't mention the spices. I would assume your typical, fall / seasonal pumpkin pie spices. I'm going to pour it, but let me just say I have some thoughts about this one. And one of the thoughts is that this is 4.2%, which is literally an ABV that's in the realm of a lot of American light lagers, like your Bud Lights of the world, your all kinds of different light beers. I am I wouldn't say concerned, but I'm curious how this is going to work at 4.2%. Most of the pumpkin beers out there are like 6.5, or even higher. So I'm curious about this one, but there's only one way to find out. So let's give it a pour here. It looks like a pumpkin ale. I'm using the Bill Burr SNL skit glass because it's an amazing glass, amazing skit. Why not? Do something like that. Beautiful looking pumpkin ale. So yeah, I'm kind of worried about this one from that aspect. Also, another aspect is when I drink a pumpkin beer of any sort, specifically a pumpkin ale like this, I think it being higher in ABV and giving you that gentle, warming kind of feeling, but also the body and mouthfeel being a little bit more, bigger and in the realm of what you're looking for, at least in my opinion, that'll be another reason why I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to give it an honest go like I always do. So as we have the Bill Burr saying there, I don't know if you guys can see what it says on there. Let's get over here, but you can read it for yourself. But as a pumpkin beer, yeah, this has that amber kind of orange look to it. Definitely fits the realm of what you're kind of looking for with this style. Has some decent clarity. I can see my hand through the other side of it. I don't know if you guys can make that out. Maybe a shadow. No, not as much on camera. Had about almost 3 fingers. It's now 2 fingers of this straight up tan or maybe light khaki colored head. Looks really nice. Not really soap sudsy, more creamy than anything. And as it says on the side of the chair, this is the kind of beer that somebody brings to a party at your house and it just sits in the fridge for like 8 months. Jacko Pumpkin from Sam Adams is what this skit was all about. Anyway, let's get those. Nope. Definitely not. Okay. What? It smells like a pumpkin candle to me. Or if you're like shopping at a grocery store or like a hardware store and they have like the cinnamon like brooms that you smell, that's kind of what it smells like. It has cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, but there's not a substantial amount of that like base malt that I want. Probably because it's 4.2. Has a little bit of like a lightly toasted bread, maybe a touch of caramel. It almost has, and again, I don't think this is Wempat or anything. The place I bought it from, it was refrigerated, and the place that usually they keep them refrigerated, like the cold chain, most of the time. But it has a little bit of like a slight tartness to it. Does have a little bit of earthiness, probably from the pumpkin. It just doesn't smell great. It smells like a pumpkin candle of some sort. Or again, like that, those cinnamon brooms. Like it just has like that, like a very light amber ale, like very light amber ale, sessionable amber ale, or maybe even like like an English milds are much more aromatic, but maybe like an English pale ale or something that just so happens to have some pumpkin/fall spices in it. Doesn't smell horrible, it's just not really doing it for me. So let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. What? It is very, very spicy. There's a lot of clove. For me, there's a lot of clove. There's almost so much clove with the other spices that's giving me like a minty vibe, like a sprucey vibe, which I would normally enjoy. This is a pumpkin ale. I'm not prepared for it. The body is light, higher side of light body. It isn't super watery, but it's definitely thinner. It's appropriate for 4.2%. But again, if I'm drinking a pumpkin ale, I don't really want it higher side of light bodied. I want it into that like medium realm where there's a little bit of heft. I feel like if you're drinking a pumpkin ale and you want like a pumpkin pie-esque kind of feel to it, you'll want a little bit more of a substantial body because it's, pumpkin pie is creamy. It's a little bit more, it's not super light and thin in water, at least a good pumpkin pie shouldn't be. Mouthfeel is pretty carbonated. This is like moderately carbonated, crisp on the palate, smooth going down. Mouthfeel is really nice. Body, it's thin, but kind of where I expected it to taste. Yeah, this is probably to date my least favorite of the ones I've reviewed this year. And again, you could tell probably from the beginning that I had concerns going in this one because of the ABV, and those concerns are definitely confirmed. So, to me, there's this omnipresent clove, nutmeg, allspice, some cinnamon, but I'm getting a little minty vibe. The clove is very heavy-handed. I don't even know if there's clove in here, but what I perceive to be as far as clove goes, whatever spice, there's a spice here that's giving me more of like a piney spruce, kind of spruce tip thing, which is weird. The underlying malt character flavors to this one is, again, more of that like lightly toasted brown bread, maybe a touch of caramel. It's not very complex from that aspect, maybe a touch of toffee. As it passes through, the spices kind of ramp up and they kind of finish on the back of the palate with, like, again, a big spicy kind of feel to it. It's just in your face. There's no vanilla in here, but I'm not really getting any. Sometimes I will, even if there is no vanilla, just maybe from the base malt or whatever the case may be. It's not a bad beer. It's just tight. If you want a super light, crushable, sessionable pumpkin ale, this is you. This is you all day. For me, I'm usually one and done with a pumpkin ale of any sort. Like, I just want to drink one because it's, I'm obviously drinking 10 in a row. This is day 7, and it's fine to do that. But you realize that, like, some aren't as good as others. Some kind of hit you in the feels more than others. But if each day I'm drinking a pumpkin ale, I want something that reminds me of pumpkin pie or reminds me of the fall season without being, like, a little bit too thin, slightly watery. And that's kind of what this is. It's like a sessionable pumpkin ale, but I don't session pumpkin ales. I just kind of drink one when I do drink one. And I'd rather have this 6.5%, 7%, have more of a substantial body, mouthfeel be a little bit better, more from the malt character. There is a slight underlying earthiness from the pumpkin. There is good glass lacing. You won't see it with the Bill Burr, but you can see, I don't know if you'll see it, decent glass lacing, not bad. I'll say this, one of the few pumpkin ales where it doesn't lean sweet. This is like pretty balanced. If anything, leans a little bit more dry than anything. Maybe like 55-45 dryness to sweetness. No real bitterness to speak of here. 4.2% you can't tell. You can tell, though, it is 4.2% because it is, the flavors would indicate that. The body would indicate that. But like when I say you can't tell, I mean there's no alcohol stringency. I don't know. I'm kind of bummed out. I try to go into every review with an open mind, but, if I'm calling a spade on myself, obviously seeing the 4.2% and then reviewing it and going in the review, I'm like, man, is this beer going to be thin-bodied? Is it not going to have a lot of flavor? We're talking about a beer that's akin to an American Light Lager. and it was in the back of my mind, and now I'm tasting it, and it's there. It's just there, and it's hard to get by. So I don't think it's an indication of Lone Pine making bad beer or brewing bad beer, because everything I've had from them has been pretty good. We don't see a lot from them here in the Buffalo, New York area. We pretty much see that OJ. I've saw this, and then like we get their I think it's their Holy Donut or Donut lineup. We'll see occasionally, but the beers I've had from them have been good. I think this is more an indication of like it's a low ABV pumpkin ale, and I just don't think that's what I personally want. So, listen, not a bad beer in the least. Like I can drink this one, whatever, but it's nothing that I'm searching for personally, and that's where I got to leave it. So pour the rest in here, and I'm going to give it a score that I think kind of fits what I'm thinking. So Pumpkin Party, the 2025 release from Lone Pine, to me, for my palate, is a 3.25 out of 5. It's the lowest I've given a pumpkin beer in quite a while, and it is what it is. You know, I always try to be honest with my reviews, and I can't give it to you much more honest than that. So, is what it is. Price point availability, I want to say this is like, around $13, $14 a 4-pack in the Buffalo, New York area, at least where I saw it. I think I paid like $3.50 or $4 for that can. I'm all right with it, but it is 4.2%, and it's not my favorite. So personally, I would never buy this again, probably, period. But if you want a lower ABV pumpkin ale, yeah, I mean, that price point is not that bad. And availability, I don't know with Lone Pine. I just know here in Western New York, we do see their stuff, like I said earlier, drips and drabs. But for the most part, we don't see a ton of their stuff. So yeah, anyway, that was day 7 of the 8th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin. Not a great beer for me personally. My least favorite beer of the 10 Days of Pumpkin so far, but you always get honesty with me, and I'm not going to sit here and just be like, oh, it's a 4 out of 5, because it's not. It's a 3.25. And I would say, like I do with all my reviews, check this one out if it sounds interesting to you. Do not just rely on what I say, because I'm just one dude. It's my opinion. But if you like Lone Pine or you like lower ABV pumpkin ales, seek this one out. But it just kind of drinks like, again, like think of a more malt-driven, lower ABV style of beer with a little bit of like pumpkin spice. That is this beer in a nutshell. And I think I like a little bit more of that, what I perceive to be like a heavy clove. It could be another spice or the spices mixed together. But give me that spruce tip, kind of pine, even minty. I like that characteristic, just not my pumpkin ales. All right? I like that. If you give me like an IPA brewed with spruce tips, or a beer brewed with spruce tips, and I'm thinking it's going to be spruce tip heavy, I'm into it. This, I wasn't thinking that, and I don't really want it with the other flavors in here. So that's where it kind of misses the mark for me a little bit. Anyway, I'm shutting this one down. Check back tomorrow, day 8 of the 8th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin. Hopefully the beer is better than it was today. And until then, cheers.